And moving on now, let's talk a little bit about something else. That is the car industry. I know a lot of, anyone into cars here? Let's make some noise. Woohoo! Yes, car industry. Well, it's definitely undergone some major transformation in the say last few years. And today we have the honor of having two speakers right next to me, and they have experience two of the largest luxury car brand names. Talk about innovation trends and what we can expect in the future. And before we get started, everyone, let's welcome Alex Lau. He's right next to me, who will be moderating the upcoming session. Just a little bit about him in case you're like, who's Alex? Okay, so well, because Alex is involved in a number of businesses. There's a lot of things he's involved in projects as like ranging from technology, startup, or even real estate. He's always been very, very passionate about cars, everything, anything related to cars from a very young age, making him the perfect candidate and the perfect person to moderate this panel. Thank you so much. And let's welcome our speakers. We have Albert Wong, the director of Lamborghini Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Macau, and CEO of Kingsway Holdings. Under Albert's direction, Kingsway has seen some very exponential growth in terms of business division and geographical footprint. In joining us virtually, everyone, we also have Pinky Lai, the founder and CEO of Brainchild Design Consultants and former chief designer of Porsche. And he actually created the Porsche 911. Wow, that is awesome. You created it. We're looking at the face right now. Oh my God, I'm so starstruck. And the Porsche came in along with others as well. I'm not going to name everything, and making him one of the most important designers in Porsche history. Wow, everyone, I'm not going to take up any more airtime. Alex, please.
No, thank you very much. I want to say thank you to Lifestyle Tech Conference for this opportunity, as well as Jumpstart. And it's of a great honor and great pleasure, as our MC has just mentioned, that we have Albert Wong and Pinky Lai. So thank you both for coming. So I want to kind of start things off with Albert, because Albert's the principal and CEO of Lamborghini and of course Koenigsegg and of Kingsway Motors Group. And the question that I have in mind is, what is about these luxury supercars that kind of a lot of individuals from Hong Kong have a lot of interest in?
Well, thank you for inviting me, Alex. And of course, there are only, in general, there are basically what I think two schools of people that for me, my business is mostly supercars. In general, there are the bunch that really are into the car and the driving sensation and enjoying driving. And obviously, a second group of customers are the ones that are aroused by the prestige of having owning a supercar. So when you buy a supercar, you're not just buying the car particularly, but the brand history, the heritage. So people like cars because of the romanticism of the movies, of the lifestyle, of driving a car. So I think in general, a lot of the customers grew up fantasizing about this, and when they make the money, they want to be involved.
Fantastic. Can we settle an age-old saying in regards to Hong Kong not being a place that's friendly for supercars? How do people get around?
Well, in general, I think even though we might not have the great roads of southern France and Italy, I think, like I said before, it's about the journey, not just because in a lot of societies, having your driver's license is kind of like a ritual to manhood, right? Having freedom, right? Yeah. It's your space, especially in a city and a metropolis like Hong Kong with so much pressure. I think for me, at least when I'm in the car, I can have my own space. I can enjoy those few precious moments that I have to myself. You know, so I think, and the way you travel also kind of tells a little bit the world who you really are.
That's fantastic. And we have to touch upon sustainability, because I know this is a very sensitive topic, or a hot topic for the automotive industry. And I also recognize that certain few countries are restricting the sales of combustion engine vehicles by 2035 and potentially sooner. So what does that mean for the luxury car market, and how do you see them adapting?
Well, the general trend of electrification is quite real. So I think in general, everybody has to adapt. But obviously, from my understanding, from a supercar point of view, there are different ways of achieving their core values. So a couple of years ago, I think Lamborghini actually signed a joint agreement with MIT, and we actually showed a concept car called the Terzo Millennio, and basically it shows kind of, as Lamborghini, our views on how we envision a cleaner future. So they worked on a couple of things. First thing is the storage systems of electric storage systems. As right now, the main problem with supercar is the weight. We're always fighting against weight, and lithium batteries are very, very heavy. So one of the things we already starting to introduce in the latest fuel off the Xi'an is using a supercapacitor, which has 10 times density in terms of storage of electric density, and at the same time have a discharge and recharge at the same time. So basically, you can regenerate and also push out at the same.
Regenerating from braking,
yep, from braking. And obviously, we also have to work with different materials, for example, the carbon fiber. For that concept was to use part of the skin of the car as part of the battery to charge, as carbon fiber could be a partial storage system. And at the same time, as propulsion goes, if we are going electric, we're moving the motors from the center, which is a very big piece, into the sides, right? So that goes down the road with Pinky, whereby the designer can play a lot more in terms of aerodynamics and efficiency. And of course, design and the emotion are the core of Lamborghini, and we have to keep the core design and also make sure how we can improve on the emotion of electric driving. And one of the things they were working on were focused on, for example, AI driver coach. We're talking about autonomous driving, where basically it's the car drives itself, but people that buy a Lamborghini might want to have their own hands in the wheel. So perhaps the car can use technology to improve the way you drive. So these are just some of the things that I think are trends, and we don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, it's still exciting for us.
Because I find with supercars especially, the design is a very important element. So even though I'll go over to Pink in a moment, I do want your perspective. So what comes first, you believe? Is it the design of a car that kind of drives demand, or it's kind of having that age-old saying of having your ear to the ground and listening to what's available and making your car towards the market? Which one comes first?
Well, I think in general, I think in the car business is a business, so there is this strong force for each company to fixate on where the market is demanding, right? But at the same time, I think I don't agree with if we just follow what the market trends are, we end up being in the median of achievement, because if everybody has a say, then basically we're just getting the general consensus, which is the mean, right? So I think there are certain things that you need to focus. For example, for us is we moved into the SUV segment. Obviously, this is a huge segment of potential, but at the same time, we try to keep our core values of the design, of the emotion, of what it means to be a Lamborghini, but as an SUV, right? So I think the answer is both, to answer your question.
Both then. Yeah. So both design and listen to the market, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. So I'd love to have this opportunity to speak with Pinky. So pleasure to speak to you here, Pinky.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
It's
good to see you, old friend. Likewise yourself. So because Pinky, you have 3 decades of experience in the automotive industry. So we have to ask you this first question. What are the watershed moments in the car design business?
3 decades or 4 decades almost.
Oh, 4 decades. I apologize.
Yeah. Definitely longer than a lot of the age of the audience here on this event. Look, watershed moment, I can only think of 2, maybe. It's really, I experienced a lot of tears in the meeting, you know, mostly from girls. It's the story of the 996. Yeah. Because I have to let my designer go. There happened to be a female designer, and it was really, well, in fact, 2 female designers. I have to let go 2 female designers. And then we did the 996, the first water coupe, and that just turned the history around. We were just about to show out to Toyota or Mercedes. They were at the front door. Sort of, it's all over the German newspaper headline for the whole month. It was our last bucket of cash to do only one platform, new platform or new model, without going to the bank and ask for credit and stuff. And it's all, you know, the family money. You know, they have to, okay, let's put money together and build a car. And then it make the balance sheet, you know, from red to black. And in fact, after we launched the 996, at that time, the whole period, the whole year, in fact, 2 years back to back, the German industry was not doing well. It was all red. You know, balance sheet was red year after year, and with only one exception, that was Porsche. Porsche was the one who making record-selling years because of the 996. And then the second watershed moment is the opposite of the 996 invention. That was when we launched the 996 Turbo at Detroit Motor Show. Must be 2000 or something. We got a call back from the show the first day. I think it's somebody from distribution and marketing. He said, "Hey guys, we have to double up the production." Because the ordering book was filling up. You know, those guys, you know, people come to the show, come to the Porsche stand, they didn't have a chance to test the car. You know, the first water cooled turbo, they just order it just by pure looking at the car, and then they order it. And it just doubled our expectation. And then it just, you know, a big boom and more, you know, black balance sheet, story, history, and all this. Yeah, that's about it.
I think you also, I think you're too modest to really say this, but I think you kind of saved Porsche because they were having a bit of financial woes, and with you kind of integrating the same design for the Boxster and then subsequently the Cayman, it kind of helped them do much better, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, Cayman is another bit of a watershed moment too. We just have a tiny budget, and we really made the best out of it. You know, it's like making something out of nothing. Yeah, I mean, the story with 996 is always, you know, I'm part of the team. You know, I just helped save Porsche. That's all. You know, I wouldn't say, yeah, I saved Porsche.
Very good, very good. So in terms of vehicles, because they have a significant utility value, and I think it will continue to grow with the expansion of 5G technology, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, as well as 3D printing. So this kind of form following function, do you think that will change the perspective of how people use cars, the prestige of owning a vehicle, as well as basically the design and art of a vehicle as well?
I have to be careful because when we say utility, you know, when we say utility in car business, mostly it's about off-road or truck. I guess what you mean here is the functionality of a vehicle. Yeah. So I have to go back to the history a little bit. You know, it started with horse carriage. Okay, it started with horse carriage, and I had it here rickshaws. rickshaw was part of the mobility, okay? Sort of, some country they have horse carriers, some country they have, especially Asia area in the TikTok. It's the history of humankind. It just move on, and then over 100 years ago, that's where we came from with mobility, and now we have rocket ship. It's extended to a sense that more than a vehicle, of going from point A to point B. It's becoming at the same time. Doesn't matter it's a supercar or super expensive or just a very average mass production car. It has become a object of desire. Okay, even it's just a smart or it's a super leggera and something. It is comparable sometimes. Some pieces they are comparable to a piece of jewelry. Okay, for some owner, or a piece of art, collectible. Okay, whether it's super old car or super modern car, it's becoming an art piece. So advanced technology, what you mentioned, metal, 3D printing or 5G, it's already happening. Some brands, they really make a big marketing out of it, but some other brand, it's already happening. It's already integrated. It's part of the attribute in the throughout the history of automobile. The other part of the question is about what? About AI?
Well, mainly the art. Well, that side, I think that's a very long conversation because with AI technology and lots of cars incorporating that potential, I think my concern is basically the art of the car, because I think they'll start having similar designs and start incorporating the same sort of technology. So would that have an effect if every car based on the same platform?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand that question.
Okay, so when we're talking about, let's say, autonomous vehicles, if you were talking about electric vehicles, the chassis and infrastructure will be very similar. So would that have an effect on the design with all cars looking virtually the same?
No, absolutely not. This design is regardless of drivetrain or energy and whether it's autonomous or no. But I would like to share the aspect of Mr. Wong earlier that it's like I just have to ask you a question. If you are offered a chance to drive your favorite sports car, would you like to switch on an AI driving or not? That's the point. Why should I let somebody else drive my car? If I have the chance to drive the hell out of it. Yeah. And then don't forget, whether it's the highest level of AI driving, autonomous driving, you still need either it's a passenger or a human being to operate, to start the switch. I mean, the autonomous driving will not start driving itself, correct?
Correct.
At least until now, I haven't seen anything that, hey, the driver's seat is empty. No, the driver's seat, you have to have a human being put into the driver's seat. He could be sleeping, but he has to put there because just in case of emergency, he will take over again. And also, what happened if in the middle of the traffic, a car from the other lane cut in or accidentally, what happened to the autonomous driving? It would just, useless in a sense. So I think we are still a long way to the ultimate goal. But we are getting there. Yeah, we are getting there.
So I'd love to ask this question to both of you, because generally speaking, it was horsepower and speed that was considered the benchmark as an improvement of a previous model. So now in these current moments in time, do you think that will continue to maintain the same for the next 10 years? So I'll start with that, Albert.
Horsepower.
Yeah, horsepower and speed.
I think in general there's never enough horsepower. So even though there are now electric cars and it's very easy on demand, having the horsepower, I think there would be a limitation, I think, to at one point, because physically I think the tires are the limitations. So you'll be spinning the wheels up to 300 miles an hour. But once we get there, I think there are still differences in terms of how what is the purpose of that particular vehicle. We were talking about autonomous driving. Sure, everybody might have an automated car to send their kids to school, but on the weekends or on a racetrack, for example, somebody else might have a different car that gives you the enjoyment of actually having it in being in control. That's the point of driving a sports car.
And the ownership, right? So, and Pinky, how would you believe?
Speed and horsepower in general, the performance of any type of vehicle is written or defined by, we have something called the targets catalog. Especially in the car industry in Germany, right before you start designing or R&D anything, the whole company or the leading department or something to do with advanced development department will get together and write up a target catalog. And that would define the product, whether it's going to be a super sport, hyper sport, or it's a mass transportation kind of smart vehicle. Everything is written down. So we will start the whole R&D from there. And you were talking about in 10 years' time?
That's correct.
Something like that?
Yeah, would it still matter in 10 years' time?
A lot of things can happen in 10 years, especially in this day and age that a lot of new development are speeding up in battery development area, type of battery, the material, the chemistry, and other material area we are already past the changing moment of history in automobile. A lot of established car will become dinosaur of the past. Well, I mean, just look at all the new startup. That is the sign for, hey, we are coming. We are starting, and it's just it's the replacement of internal combustion engine. They are reducing all the components from a few thousand to a couple of thousand parts or even less, and also the horsepower is almost a given fact. It's very difficult to control. A car with less power is easier to let it go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So that ends this beat for now for our talk. So thanks very much for your time, and thank you both for joining. So once again, thank you, Albert. Thank you,
Alex.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Albert. Thanks again, Pinky. Wow. And that was their sharing expert advice and about some of the innovations and the directions in the future. But there's one thing I'm sure that will not change according to Pinky. If it's your object of desire, don't let anyone else drive it. Make sure you drive it yourself. I'm sure that will never change.